Thanks for stopping by, guys, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. Today we are doing another Discord community creations video. This video's theme is piston powered. So I asked my community over on Discord to make some piston powered vehicles to submit. I picked out my top 5, and today we're going to be looking at those to kind of see how they're built and how they work. Now then, these are not going to be in any specific order. I'm simply just going to go through them. Now, each one of these does have its own little quirk that I enjoy, and I'll try and highlight that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and grab our first vehicle. Alright, and the first vehicle we're going to be looking at is the 8x8 drivetrain by Pogly. Now this appears to be ran by a simple inline 4 with a sensor plate attached to a timing plate. So a pretty standard looking engine. The gas engines on the side are not actually functional. It looks like they are still there from testing he had done with it. And this is a full 8-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer vehicle. And how he did the suspension is each one of these drive shafts that comes off the central drive shaft actually rotates around that gear there. So it makes the connections significantly simpler, so that all he really needs is a single pivot in the center, whereas with, say, when the front was steering, you need those U-joints to deal with that turning. However, the only issue with this vehicle, despite how much I love it, is it lags so much. There is so much complexity here. Just driving it around a little bit. I did do some testing with this off-road, and while it can't exactly go a full 90, unfortunately, it can take some pretty significant terrain. The only downside with its off-roading capabilities is because the axles are very thick and the wheels aren't very tall. It does have some issues crossing over rough terrain like rocky terrain. That axle will snag on things pretty easily. So it would be kind of cool to see some larger wheels on this at some point. Alright, and the next vehicle we're going to be looking at is the Buggy 3 Piston 2 by Ripsaw 711. Now this is by far the most aesthetically pleasing vehicle. It's a very beautiful design with all the piping he did. It's actually surprisingly fast despite it being an inline 4 with no real gearbox. One thing with this is he has a really interesting timing system. He is using a valve-based system, which I've used before, but is hooked up to a W and S converter of sorts. So whenever the piston is flat like this, they all trigger, but as soon as it's tilted down, with W, it does its thing. And right now I'm not holding W, it is running automatically, and I hold S, and it goes back to just off. I do kind of like that, being able to just leave the engine cruising, even though it can cause some issues with runaway vehicles. However, my only complaint with this vehicle really is A, it doesn't have suspension. Unfortunately, it is a rock solid frame, and B, there is no reverse gear. Unfortunately, now the 8x8 didn't have a reverse gear either, but considering the complexity of that one, I don't think it was possible without using an engine timing system, which was probably possible, but still. I do like the 8x8 with all its complexity and all of its 8 wheels. I do love this. Just looks really nice. Now, the next vehicle we're going to be looking at is the Try to Beat This I Dare You by Vaporscape. Now I'm guessing the name refers to the vehicle's speed, which unfortunately is not the fastest vehicle in this lineup, but it does actually have a full W and S converter for the drive. So you can actually see the W and S converter right there. It is a controller-based W and S converter. And from what I can tell, the actual W and S, what it does is it not only powers the engine, but it actually turns this timing plate to align with whatever you're using, reverse or forward, which is actually a system I have used before on a few vehicles. That trickles into a large gear, and that large gear powers a smaller gear, which gives it a decent amount of speed. This is using a Boxer 8, it looks like. So one of the larger engines here too. Alright, and the next vehicle we're going to be looking at is the all-wheel drive piston car, once again by Ripsaw 711. I didn't intend to show two creations by a single person, however, I did also quite enjoy this one. Now it uses a similar timing system with the valves and the W and S. However, with this, instead of W turning it on and S turning it off, this you hold W, and it doesn't actually tilt the sensors. It actually tilts a piston, or pushes a piston below the seat to interact with some logic under the passenger seat. This means that you don't have to press S to turn the engine off. It also means when you press 1, the whole timing system flips. Now you actually have a reverse gear, which the other creation he showed did not. So not only is this a engine with forward and reverse, it is all-wheel drive. All four wheels are spinning here, where the engine itself actually has a drive shaft through the front and rear, which is kind of one of the benefits of that valve design. You don't have to worry about sending the drive shaft through the logic and the timing systems. The timing system is in its own little area here. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to be looking at Fenoworks' FenowMotors VR6 piston engine V4 75 Plus. Now then, this is an interesting beast. It appears to have a kind of the inline V style. So the pistons, if you notice, aren't perfectly in line. They're actually tilted on bearings to be slightly in a V shape. 6 cylinders, complex timing system, which isn't that bad actually. And that trickles into a gear ratio. And with some of these new blocks, I never really thought to try and adapt some of the gears with them. So that's actually a really nice idea. Might have to mess with that at some point. So this thing, like I said before, the vehicle that Vaporscape showed off is not the fastest. This is. By a significant mile. However, unfortunately, this vehicle does not seem to have a reverse gear. And this one is switch controlled, so it's simply an on-off. Oh god, is this thing hard to steer, but once we get into a flat area, we should be able to pick up a significant amount of speed. Let's see if we can make this turn just by tapping the engine. Maybe get a bit more traction on those front wheels. And here we go. Now this thing is fast. Alright, and unfortunately we are out of time for recording this episode. So hopefully if you did enjoy, please leave a like, if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. Enjoy the channel, enjoy what I'm doing, please subscribe, it helps out a lot. And right now shares up the channel the most. So if you do help the channel, please share this episode with a friend. I do want to also thank Ad for still being a member on the channel, helping make videos like this possible. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thanks for stopping by, thanks for sticking around, and until next time, peace.